That'd take a while. This is how you come down. You know you're standing right where I'm supposed to stand, right? So if you're going to stand there, you're going to have to learn how to read. Huh? And you have got to read the emails, or you got to get out of the way. Okay? Alright? Shuffle over, my buddy. Just a little bit. It's a boring time of year for them. Boring time of year, and they're craving attention all the time. All the animals that crave attention around here. They get it though. Right? Your buddy? Yeah. Anyway, a friend of mine, he sat on the porch in the cabin up eastern British, well, mid-north. Well, let's just say his cabin was, I don't know, hour and a half from Jasper, Alberta, right? And if you guys remember that, I was hunting there. I was there at his cabin by myself, but he as well one day sat on the porch and told us about seeing the three-toed footprints when he was young. That was near Gibson's, British Columbia, Seashell Gibson's, Half Moon Bay-ish, where it has been shit piles of crazy shit experienced. But anyway, and then remember I sent you, he sent me a text from his friend, outfitter up north. We're all familiar with each other. I've never really met the guy. And his guides had recorded that scream in the Northwest Territories. And he wasn't going into that camp until September, and he did. Of course, by the time he got there, everything had quieted down when it came to the scary shit was going on there. Anyway, so the original friend who sat on the porch with me, he sent me a screenshot last night. Hopefully I'll remember to edit that in and share with you right here. He sent me a screenshot from a place called Robson. If you guys are familiar with Robson, those are the small remote town near Castlegar, I think. And Castlegar is as well near south eastern British Columbia, real close to Alberta, and there's a lot of sightings around there. And this woman, I guess people of the community were making Facebook posts. Everybody's asking, what the hell is that sound going on? And they recorded it. So I'll play that recording here, and you guys can hear it. Maybe somebody in that community was there while this is going on, which is right now, and you want to touch in on that with us, or even if you have your own recording of that evening, the last few evenings, you can send that in too, possibly, if you want, whatever.
What is that noise? What the fuck is that noise? What the fuck is that noise?
But it is an odd sound. If anybody out there has heard something similar, or maybe even recorded something similar, or you've seen something make that sound, actually that'd probably be better if we put out feelers for anyone who has possibly seen something make these sounds. There's a lot of people currently that want to know what the F was that, what's making the sounds, and where those sounds are coming from. Alright? Don't you be nibbling on my leg. Anyway, alright, here you go. Let's get it over with. It's gotta have them. Gotta get those scratch between his ears. Loves it. There you go. Is that better? Onto the chin. There you go, my boy. Hey. Uh-oh. Now Mom's is coming in for her slice of affection pie. Alright, hold on a minute. Hi, Moms. Move over, buddy. Move over. Now, those are some odd sounds. I haven't heard those sounds myself, but listening to those recordings, these sounds sound exactly, if you were to describe these sounds, the description you come up with these recorded sounds is the same description should piles of people have described to us via emails, right? It's very odd. Now, moving along. I'm getting fairly close to getting my shit caught up. Next task is the website is so overdue. Got to get the website changed around, a bunch of stuff taken off, added, some explanations, and then Sarah's going to get her page going up there so that if you want any of these versions, the How to Hunt hats or the Blacktail Hunter stuff or whatever, then she's going to find us some cool Club and No Return member coffee mugs, because I want one. And there might be somebody else out there that might want one too. And that'll be my morning mug. made strictly for making these videos. This is ridiculous, right? This is not going to end. So I got to get that. That's going to be the next task. Obviously, the turkeys are finally done behind me. The 90-something chickens I got on before that. The 2 deer, I processed those. Set them back. Now, here we go. Let's hear some voices, shall we? I'm not sure. I think I'm going to do recent emails. Oh yeah, and that's another thing. What I'm going to get closer to doing is I finally started to organize all of my information sent to me from our nuclear scientists. And it is a lot. And yeah, I know I haven't forgot about it. And yes, it is fact. And yes, I do have a shitload. But it has to be, like I said earlier, I stopped talking about it for a while because it has to be delivered in the sequence it came. And it has to be, oh shit, seriously? We have to do it so that it can make sense, right? But there is a lot of eye-popping information that's going to be coming our way via those people. And I've got it. And there's more coming as well. Now, damn it. I don't know what this is. This is interesting. It was coincidental, I don't know, but I had 2 different emails with the same topic. So I'm going to read the one short one first that I received. Now, this is titled Bigfoot. And this is what it says. Hi, Steve. My name is Lewis. I'm from Central Washington, just south of Fort Lewis Military Base. Often the military will fuel up and practice at our local airport, Centralia Chehalis Airport. Anyhow, our local chronicle was at the airport capturing pictures for a story in our local newspaper. Check out the helicopter picture and you'll see a Bigfoot image for all to see. What a great picture, huh? I included a few stories related to Fort Lewis Military Base and Bigfoot. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you, Steve. Okay, thanks for that picture. And I am going to try it again on screen because it's way easier than what I have to go through to get these pictures from my notes onto Dropbox onto my computer into the editing program. That's what I have to do each time. That is working. I can see it. So there you go. Why they have, I guess I better hit the focus, right? Is that working? There we go. Why they have Sasquatch insignia on their military helicopter, I don't know. All right, okay, so you said, quote, included a few stories related to Fort Lewis Military Base. There's nothing included in here. Oh, those are links. So you sent me links. Okay, man. Thanks. That's why I don't see it on here. I only save the actual text and email stories for everybody. Now. Oh, okay. So this is your wife emailing now. Okay. Hey, Steve. Earlier this evening, December 1st, my husband sent you some of the pictures taken at the Centralia Chehalis Airport on the west side of and just off exit 87 on Interstate 5 in Washington State. He told you that our soldiers from Fort Lewis, Washington fly back and forth between Fort Lewis and they use our little airport here in Chehalis to practice flying and getting used to working in unfamiliar areas. They call our airport Base Chehalis. Go figure. The Chronicle newspaper from Centralia, Washington, did a story about why so many military helicopters fly over us constantly and mostly at night. The paper's photographer took these pictures that day of the story that took place at our little airport here in Chehalis, Washington, off I-5, exit 87. Lewis also sent you 2 true stories that happened at Fort Lewis involving Bigfoot on the Army base. However, Lewis did not explain to you what happened to us in the summer 2012. His mother's property is less than a mile away on the east side of I-5, exit 88, almost directly across from the airport, right on the other side of I-5. The Army would fly directly over her house on a nightly basis, so we would go and sit up on the roof at times and watch him fly over. Here's our story. Lewis will tell you that what he saw through his binoculars on the corner of the dike during the daylight. It was a Sasquatch. He wasn't looking for it. He was actually watching the army fly over the house that day for hours. As for me, I used my Sony Hi8 video camera and captured an unknown animal screaming and tearing up a deer. 3 hours. This animal was screaming, growling, whooping, and tearing up the woods, and the horrific sounds of the deer screaming and gurgling as it was being shredded up alive. That night after I recorded the sound, something very strange and unusual happened. Well, after dark, around 11 p.m., for an hour or more, a solid black military helicopter hovered in one spot above the back of Mom's 3-acre pasture where the woods border the property. It was in line with I-5 pointed north, nose first towards Mom's house. Lewis sat up on the roof and watched it with his binoculars. The chopper was hovering no more than 300 feet above the woods for an hour. No lights on, just solid black. Lewis could see what looked like soldiers climbing down a rope hanging out of the side of the chopper. When the helicopter was done doing what it was doing, it flew directly over Lewis's head. Fast forward 2022, the Chronicle newspaper had this picture of the helicopter in the air at the Chehalis, Washington airport. The ironic thing about the helicopter, it has a huge decal of a Sasquatch on both sides of it, just below the rotors. Thank you and God bless your strong sense of courage and fearless state of mind. We have more strange happenings we have experienced together, but that's for another day. I'm not sure if you said to use your name or not, so I'll leave it out just in case. And here are the helicopters, and numerous helicopters in the one picture. So I already showed you the one picture of the insignia, and I'll show you the new picture that her husband didn't include with numerous military helicopters with the insignia on it. Hope you can see that. Right, there you go. Oh, something on the lens. So, yeah, Fort Lewis. We've got a lot of emails from Fort Lewis, right? A lot of stuff happens there. A lot of stuff happens at a lot of military bases. Why? Don't know. I have a feeling our nuclear scientists are probably going to crack us open some new windows, some new doors to put together our puzzle, and that is a for sure. It's all time, though, you guys. It's all time, so continue to be patient. Because it's coming. I have it. It's in my possession. Now, okay. Who else needs to be heard? Many people. Okay, this is going to sound interesting. It sounds kind of interesting. This is titled Co-Owning Property with Sasquatch. Hi Steve, I wonder if your listeners might have some advice / input. I've been a nature and forest lover my entire life, was practically born camping. It's where I feel most authentic. I currently live in a suburban setting in Southern California, not comparable at all to a forest environment. Needless to say, but I lived rural previously. It's been a lifelong goal, and now the big plan to move back to a forested setting, the Pacific Northwest, to live out the remainder of my life. The oldest child lives there presently and happens to be in a high Sasquatch incident town. I've been a Sasquatch believer since my early teens, where I heard vocalizations in the night on a camping trip to Oregon, and had some hair-raising, literally, feelings while alone in the woods. Truth be told, since listening to your channel and the experiences of others, I now look back on a lifetime of seemingly innocuous events at the time, or weird sounds and heebie-jeebie feelings had while hiking, and I now re-see many of them with fresh eyes. Hold on, okay, quit it. I now re-see many of them with fresh eyes, ears, and perception of what they may have actually been. Maybe ignorance was bliss at the time, or did I skirt danger more than I realize? I'll never know. But for certain, I now never hike alone. I have GPS tracker. I became a practiced gun owner / carrier, and I have always trusted whatever my gut is telling me. After finding and listening to your channel for nearly a year now, my Sasquatch awareness and education about the people hasn't slowed my desire to live where I want to live. But admittedly, I'm rethinking how I pre-check properties out for the potential of it being Sasquatch territory or even a migration route. I want to have a pretty good idea of what I'm getting into before I get into it. I don't want to purchase my dream home in Anchorage only to wake up to whoops in the night, house slaps, and my garden picked clean. But more than anything, I don't want to fear for my grandchild's or dogs or farm animal safety. Part of my desire to live forested is specifically to have a table and chair in the woods to go read at, do art, or just think about and soak in forest ambience. I don't want to be afraid of my own property that another creature may be viewing as their property. I've researched enough to know real estate agents and house sale disclosure statements don't enforce the revelation of property Sasquatch activity. I even asked about this on a public forum for a community I've been interested in moving to, and was practically laughed off the forum. I stood my ground though and encouraged anyone with feedback to contact me privately. Half a dozen individuals contacted me with experiences they'd had locally. Without a doubt, I would have pre-guessed that. I would have slapped a $5,000 bet down that was going to be the result of that move. As expected, fear of sharing keeps the topic in the shadows. Go figure. What a bunch of pussy, coward ass pukes that laugh at people that come forward with the truth. But also, as expected now, it's not until you go directly to people and invite them to share with you that you get info, if you're lucky. I suspect I only received input at all because I'd ingratiated myself on that particular forum over a period of a couple of years and gave info as well as received, establishing myself as a trustworthy and reciprocally helpful forum member. In the situation of a property purchase, one won't likely have that advantage to get people to open up to you more freely, even if only via private message. I realize no one can guarantee or not Sasquatch activity in an area, presently or in the future. But were I to find out I'd landed in a Sasquatch mecca as a property owner, I'm not sure I'd want to stay or spend my days living in a state of suspicion, especially with the above-mentioned safety concerns. If I were to discover Sasquatch activity and wish to leave to sell my property, I'm pretty sure I'm too much on the honest side to not disclose my discovery to potential buyers, which might scare some buyers off, but might also attract parties interested in Sasquatch for good or bad motives. Kind of a catch-22, eh? You know, it's like I say here with that department, it's like, you know what, as long as you be honest with your family and your neighbors or whoever might be frequenting the same place where you had your experience, as long as you tell everybody at least once, you did your part. You were honest, you shared. If they have an experience after that, it's on them, right? They can't guilt you out. Now, sorry. So as a person living in acknowledged Sasquatch territory and who has mentioned possibly moving, how do you deal with this? How does your family function day to day with an elevated chance of encounters in your area? What steps would you take if researching a new rural property to go into the purchase of it with as much information as possible about the possible existence of Sasquatch beings there? Would you question neighboring property owners or others in the community? Would you do reconnaissance on your own? Spend nights parked nearby listening? Curious what your method of researching would be. Thanks in advance for yours and any listeners' input for all you do. Keep alert and safe, Steve and family. Sincerely, Carol. Good question, Carol. For many, for me, I wouldn't. Me, my research is all experience. I mean, I know just from a lifetime of somewhat interest in the topic. I know where they are, but more importantly, what we all know now is these beings come and go at random anywhere they want at any time. And we've had how many people now have emailed in mature, aged men and women who have been hunting all their lives in the same area or lived in the same rural ranch property all their lives, never saw or heard of anything, and all of a sudden, boom, one day there's this thing standing there looking at them. Right? And that has been reported absolute dozens of times. So just on that fact alone, it's kind of like it doesn't matter where you go. doesn't matter. It doesn't seem to matter where you go. It might happen, probably won't, but it might, and it's completely 100% out of our control. From what we've learned, from what I've learned so far, anyway. But there is people like Scott Carpenter and other people who have come up with methods to possibly detour these beings from harassing the shit out of you, right? Whether or not these beings are identical to your classic Sasquatch, the Pacific Northwest beings, I don't know. There's a handful of different bizarre frickin' things going on in our remote and not so remote timbered mountain areas, swamps, everything, every state, every province. There's just enough going on that I am 110% convinced it's more than one, if you want to call it a species, it's more than one species of being out there that we are not being allowed to acknowledge, right? So, if it's me buying a rural property, I'm not even going to think about doing this is just me. I'm not going to go looking to see if there's any Sasquatch activity around the area, because I already know there probably is. And if there isn't, there's a damn good chance there just might be one day. And that's how I carry myself, so. I don't know, I just encourage you to go with it. Go with your gut instincts on every single decision you make in life. You go with your gut instinct and you can't lose. So you go into a property, you get that bad feeling, leave, right? Go walk the property. The potential property you're going to buy, just go walk it and go with your gut instincts. It'll let you know. That's how I make all my decisions, is from my gut instincts. So try that one. Now, it's a good question though. Comes another one. These are all recent, you guys. Close encounter, a family and community that keep silent. Hey Steve, been a long time following your channel to get up the nerve to throw this down. Right on, man, good for you. This is a two-part tale. The first is my direct experience. Then, if you like, the second part was my long, detailed conversation with the elderly landowner and his son. I gave my word I would not disclose the names, places, or particulars of my misadventure, and I'll keep that word to my grave. But I need to finally get out my story as best I can. From the moment the world pulled back the curtain a little and let me see its hidden side. Call me Mick. I'm Australian born and bred, loved the mountain, and chose a campfire over a TV anytime. I was in the States years ago for study, and being a wild adventurous soul and fanatical fisher hunter, I jumped at the invitation heading up to the northwest U.S. to hunt large private land. A little about myself that will become important later. I'm a shade under 6 foot, 105 kilograms, and, as I'm told, built like a hillbilly barbecue. My most defining attribute is my red/brown beard, somewhere between ZZ Top and Chris Stapleton. Bearded for life, and after a life of random stupid shit, I'm kind of hard to break. Just a hardwood Aussie boy. I arrived at the property, and the folks were amazing. Warm and friendly and keen to find me fish and small game and all the wildlife that was cherished on this spectacular land. I built up a rapport with the landowner, let's call him Fred, in his 70s at the time, told me that he was the third generation on this land and his son would be the fourth. He was everything an Australian thinks a grizzled old cowboy should be, LOL. On the evening before the big deer hunt, a few local men gathered and over a few beers and barbecue, I made new acquaintance and discussed where we were all going to be hunting in the morning. Fred, in an offhanded, casual way, said he would like to put the Aussie down on the creek stand. With that, the room went silent. A few heads turned to him, then to me. You sure about that? Was the general consensus in the group. Fred chuckled and said, yeah, he'd be okay, as long as he don't try to shoot bears. They all laughed at this and must have noted my quizzical look. It's a chance a big old black bear might sneak up on you and it figures out you're there just for a look. Do not, I repeat, do not shoot the bear. You'll just piss him off. More chuckling from the group, and someone joked about the first Aussie to get his down under kicked by a steam train. Laughter broke out and the topic was dismissed. I was still pondering the strange atmosphere of that conversation when I went to bed that night. The next morning, in the darkness, Fred took me by four-wheeler down a twisting, turning forest track, quite a way back into the woods, to reveal a small one-man tree stand fixed to a tree about 15 feet off the ground. Just a seat and platform with giant screws in the trunk at intervals to act as a ladder. Fred's voice was low and soft. He showed me where the deer would likely come into view and distances to trees of note from the stand. Before he left, he put his hand on my shoulder and said, "Stay up there until well after daylight and don't shoot just anything. Just be certain it's a deer is all I'm saying." Then he watched me climb up and left. The woods were amazing. The sounds of pre-dawn, birds and squirrels, it was truly wonderful. As an alien to this type of landscape, I just drank it up. I'd just sit still and take it all in. Just as dawn arrived, a young doe came out of the clearing I was watching. She milled around a little and continued on her way. This woke me up, and I got back to the job at hand. Now keenly focused on the prospect of a buck stepping out into the clearing, I heard a loud thump, like a heavy object falling into damp leaves off to my right. I turned my head but could see nothing. I'm a patient guy, so after a good scan of the area, the noise came from, I went back to my motionless observation. A minute or two passed, then out of seemingly nowhere, woka, a branch the size of a pool table leg went spinning past me from left to right about 4 feet out at eye level. That would suck. I then, for some reason, stood up on the little platform and followed its trajectory. It hit the ground and made the same thump that I'd heard earlier. Slightly bewildered, I stood there for a second before it dawned on me, where the hell did that come from? As I turned to the left, I heard a deep grunt, then whoosh, like an old train on a platform turning to follow the sound. Two things happened at the same time. I caught sight of a large black mass just inside the thicket about 30 meters away. The second thing, I lost my balance and I fell. Uh-oh. I went down taking my rifle with me. We parted ways on the journey but landed hard. I lay there sucking in air that was driven from my lungs and doing a mental diagnostic to discover a lot of pain but nothing broken or poking out. Then my mind screamed, "Bear! Ground rifle." I cleared the fog, rolled onto my stomach, and reached out for the butt of the rifle a few feet away. Whack! An electric fence-style jolt to the inside of my freaking head. Followed up inside my skull by that short, sharp sound you make when scolding a dog. Ah! I instinctively pulled my hand away, rolled onto my back, and propped myself on the trunk of the tree I just hastily departed from, wincing from the pain. The black shape was moving. I saw eyes, people-type eyes. Wait, not a snout, and bear eyes, and not the rotund, roundish form of a bear. Then slowly and silently, he stood up. He rose up above the thicket, easy 9 foot plus, rolled his massive shoulders like a fighter before a bout, flared his nostrils, and whooshed again. He carefully looked around, then down at me with the 1,000-yard stare. The most impressive figure I've ever witnessed. I just froze. This dude was a tank. Not defined like a gym junkie, just big, enormous stacked muscle groups. Thick neck and traps, bulging arms and chest. He was covered in hair, except around the eyes and nose, lesser on the chest. Black, but looking as intently as I was, he was flecked through gray and more so around the mouth, giving him a slightly aged appearance. His skin was dark, but the side of his face, including the corner of an eye, was stark contrast pinkish with what looked like a ragged old wound. I wiped the dirt and sweat from my eyes and down my face through my beard in that thoughtless gesture only beard owners know and do. Watching me equally as intently, He brought up a massive hand and mimicked the motion of stroking his own chin, with a hand that was surprisingly yet clearly missing a ring finger. He stroked his chin a few times and his expression seemed to soften, or maybe relax. I got another less shocking whack to the inside of my head, and not so much in a word, but it was somehow clear I should just sit still, and I was not in danger. He turned, and as he walked away, a large, hairless slash across one shoulder blade towards his spine looked like one hell of a battle scar. 2, 3, 4 steps out of sight. And a final departing, exhaling whoosh, just like a damn steam train. After that, complete silence. No footsteps, no branches breaking, just silence. I sat there in pain, breathing and staring at that spot for who knows how long, until I heard the four-wheeler coming down the track. Fred was off the four-wheeler in a flash, and I let him know I was banged up and nothing broke. I let him know I'd had a quick trip south of the spot he had left me in. He pulled out a thermos of coffee and sat down. Coffee was hot, worked wonders. I didn't know quite what to say, so I sheepishly said, Fred, I saw a bear. His head snapped around on a swivel, and I got an almost identical 1,000-yard stare to the one I had earlier. You don't say, replied Fred. Thought maybe you would. You belong in the woods more than most, I guess. But Fred, I said, the bear stood up. He's an impressive fellow, ain't he? We make him at 10'6", but only Mother Earth could tell you how much he weighs. Give you a fright, or did he let you know he was there? I recounted the morning, and Fred could only shake his head and chuckle. Reckon us old guys get tired of playing tricks, but not the steam train. Did you see any others, or just him? What the F, Fred? There's more? Oh, there's much more. More, my young man, but let's get you back to the house and patched up. I can tell you all about the other family living on this land, and if you were paying attention, how your new friend came about all them scars. The end. Part 2 is the conversation that day with Fred and his son about the community around his land that no one keeps silent, and about a famous battle that cost one of the combatants a finger. If you want the rest, just say the words, regards, Mick. Mick, it sounds like a great written story to many. Many people are going to go, man, that guy knows how to tell a story and type one out. Some people just have that skill, but it can also tend to make people think it just might be getting made up. Do I think it's getting made up? Yeah, I don't know. I haven't a clue. I don't know you. I don't know of these people, and the matter of fact way you're delivering this is a little bit not. It's just not that common of a delivery, especially with such an experience that would be so frickin' life-changing and intimidating. Right? You're pretty smooth with your delivery. So, am I saying this isn't true? Nope, I never do. All I can say is take from it what you will or leave it. And yes, I do want to hear the rest. And so does everybody else. So, if you would, send away, man. Give her. We'll share it. It's an incredible story. Frickin' incredible story, man. Alright, here we go. Let's get into another one. It's titled, Our Friend the Goofy Bigfoot. My student name's Chris. I'm a 55-year-old truck driver from southwestern Pennsylvania. I've lived near the now famous Chestnut Ridge and the Monongahela River since birth. In the late 70s, I was people are going to go, Steve, how come you can't pronounce Algonquin words perfectly the first time you read them? I don't know. I guess I suck. In the late 70s, I was a 12-year-old boy raised on all things hunting, fishing, and trapping related. Carried a rifle and checked trap lines by myself as early as age 10 at 5 a.m. before school. Back then, it was no big deal. I was taught gun safety and respect for the natural world as early as I can remember. I didn't have a father, as he was a casualty of the Vietnam War. Sorry to hear that. But his two brothers taught me everything they knew about the natural world. My earliest memories are of being in the woods or near the Whiteley Creek or Monongahela River with one or both of them. Later on, I learned how to use both of their knowledge and experience in different views, then add them together to use to my advantage. I was raised in a small town of Mapleton, population 50 or less. My best friend that lived across the road from me was raised the same as I was by his parents. They were avid ginseng hunters, and his mother often caught her limit fishing, or got the buck before her husband. So, when I wasn't with my uncles, I would spend time with them, soaking up all their knowledge and the different views than my uncles. At age 12 back then, a kid could get his official hunting license and hunt on his own, with proof of completing a gun safety course. Luckily, our local Cub Scouts taught this course, which every young boy or girl in our area took. In 1977, a coal company started railroad construction from the Monongahela River to the Kirby mine some 20 miles away so they could put their coal on river barges. By 1979, when I had my hunting license, myself and my best friend had made enough money trapping and putting our earnings from fox and muskrat pelts into a coffee can to buy motorcycles and would ride for hours along the unfinished railroad with no tracks yet. It was a perfect environment for two young boys to explore new hunting, fishing, and trapping opportunities, as well as just cut loose and have fun. Back then, the chewing tobacco or having a cigarette or stealing a look at blank shots from a Playboy magazine stolen from my friend's dad seemed to be the ultimate rebellious thing we could do. So one summer day, 79, we parked our bikes and walked down to Whiteley Creek, where a few other local kids had discovered a great swimming hole that the railroad construction had made accessible. Plans to sneak up on the swimming hole from above and throw rocks into the water and make sounds to scare the other kids in the water. But when we got near the swimming hole from above, we heard what we could only describe as a Goofy Elmer Fudd type of laugh from above and behind. Huh, huh, huh. And from below, the sound of my best friend's sister crying. Our thoughts had immediately focused on his sister instead of our sinister plans as jokesters, and we dismissed the goofy laughing from above and behind us. His sister had been hit in the head with a rock thrown from above. When we came down the hill towards the swimming hole, the other kids and his sister had all assumed we had thrown the rock. They said, "We heard you laughing." After much drama, as can be imagined, and me and my friend denying any involvement, everyone left. Later in the day, my friend was grounded for a week because his parents didn't believe he was innocent. So, with about an hour of daylight left, me and my friend realized our bikes were a half an hour walk away, and we were used to being in the woods alone at night and weren't worried about it. We were busy trying to figure out who the asshole was that hurt his sister, and couldn't come to a conclusion since all the kids from our small community were present when it occurred. Just then, our life-changing and strange relationship with who we nicknamed Goofy had begun. What? We both had begun to smell what we thought was a deer in the heat, mixed with a wet dog type of smell. Then we heard the Elmer Fudd type of laugh behind us, very quietly and restrained and very close, like 30 feet behind us. The light was fading behind us, but the sun was setting in front of us, so we could see into the tree line behind us. What we saw when we turned around was a tall, hairy thing that went from standing to down on its knees in a very slow motion, with its arms out in a position similar to someone that's expecting a big hug. My friend fell back on his ass and said, "Oh shit." I can't remember what I did. The big guy said, "Aw, sit," and went, "Ha ha ha." In the goofy laugh we grew accustomed to, his signature vocalization over the next few years. This is where I actually think that me and my friend's knowledge of the natural world, lack of fear and love of nature kicked in, as it seemed to know we weren't a threat. Don't get me wrong, we were both scared and crying silent tears. This thing went on to speak in a language we couldn't understand and got the gist of. We both came to the conclusion that from body language and tone of voice that it was trying to apologize for throwing the rock that bonked my friend's sister in the head. After it thought that we knew what it was trying to communicate to us, it did the ha ha ha, laughed very softly, got up, walked into the dark tree line. We both immediately got up, went to our motorcycles, the long walk away with pissing our pants and drying tears in our faces. He never told his parents and took his grounding like a man and apologized to his sister. I went home and had vivid dreams of conversations in an unknown language, never telling a soul of my experience. Probably took at least a month for me and my friend to resume our normal behavior. By then it was near fall and deer hunting season was coming around. This is the time of year to scope out your hunting position and possibly positions to get a good shot. At 13, now me and my friend never really discussed our experience with one another, but we always went hunting together and had each other's backs. 2 days before the first day of buck season, we were coming out of the woods with no weapons on a reconnaissance mission when we both smelled the smell we did when Goofy revealed himself to us. My friend went, huh, 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 out loud, and within 2 seconds we heard a reply so loud that it went right through us and instilled the initial fear from the past summer. I yelled out, "Leave us alone, MFer!" I went, huh, 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 and that Goofy laugh. Moments later, this thing popped up from behind a tree and showed the same submissive behavior by going down on its knees with the hug position with its arms. Over the years between 1980 and 1989, hunting in the same general area, whether hunting alone or with my friend, the interactions became less predictable, but you would always know when he was around by his lack of deodorant. We took bags of apples and left them in the spots where we had the most interactions over the years, but only had a few notable interactions. It was probably a dumb juvenile like us when we first met. When my friend got killed in an automobile accident in 1990, I hadn't been to the woods of my youth in a few years. Marriage, kids, career, life. When I got back to the woods by myself, without my friend, I often thought of Goofy and how old he must be by now. It wasn't until 15 years later, hunting with my son, that I heard him again. My son asked, "What was that?" I acted like I didn't hear it and moved my son out of the woods. We hunted in a different area now. The times we live in now are just too unpredictable to have my son experience what I did without ridicule. Wow, here's another holy shit chapter out of somebody's life. I wonder how many more people have had, who knows how many more people have had similar, right? Who knows how many? How many? There's so many people here listening to the people speak, right? So many. Sorry to hear your friend passed away. That sucks. They're moving your son away to a different area. I wonder, who knows? Who knows if that's going to be a guarantee he never gets to have this reality slap in his face or not. I don't know, right? I mean, you're definitely one of the chosen ones. Member of the Club of No Return. I wonder if that's going to be passed on down to your son. Who knows, right? I don't know. I haven't a clue. But anyway, there's a lot for everybody to take from it what you will or leave it, right? More people share it. Anyway. So, I got to get going. And hopefully I can get, or I did, I guess by now you'd know, if I successfully took those recordings that were sent to my friend last night and the screenshot of the conversation he received. Hopefully share it all in this video. And if you are one of the people from that community of Robson and you have more you want to add to this little chapter in British Columbia, then email me at sharemystory@howtohunt.com if you want to share with the people or not. Doesn't really matter at this stage of the game, right? Because the cat's out of the bag. The cat is out of the bag. No matter what. And nothing anybody can do about it. There's no getting out of it, and there's no making it stop. It's funny on that note how many people I get a lot of real nasty emails. It's kind of weird. One of the common denominators, I think, the motivation is, there's some people out there, some egomaniac, narcissistic, frickin' miserable pricks who absolutely do not want this topic to be factual. They just don't. And instead of just looking the other way, for some weird reason, they can't stop coming here, but they need to try to tear me down, attack my credibility in some way, whatever way that is. I'm not worried about it because it's not possible, because as long as you're honest, you're fucking invincible, right? So, but it's just weird to me that is a common way for those types of personalities to react is with lashing out, trying to harm. Is that weird? Feel like the horses look, I look. So anyway, but it is kind of weird though, right? It's just a weird way for that personality flavor to react. They can't just look away, walk away, and focus on what they're interested in. They need to lash out and try to tear down and attack and discredit. It's really weird. But anyway, that's a babble. On to another more important topic, and I have a question to my trusted law enforcement officers. Okay, guys, and Cooge, especially you're right on top of our questions all the time, and I reply right away. My question to the law enforcement officers is, and I will keep your names anonymous if you want to answer, what is up with the gun grabs going on? It's more of a serious issue currently here in Canada than it is the U.S. I know in the U.S. they're trying to suppress firearms of the people too, but here in Canada it's getting really, really, really bad, like right out of control. It's to the point that these filthy coward pricks are actually trying to ban rifles by brand name. Weatherby, Remington, Benelli. Isn't that amazing? That basically will make every single hunter, sport clay shooter, an instant criminal. And then they think that they are going to come and take these guns away from the people. So it includes hunting rifles now and shotguns for duck hunting, right? So if our law enforcement officers who are good, solid characters would please throw me an email that I can share with the people that help the people understand what is truly going on with these individuals. All right? Because we all know it's not going to prevent crime. It's just not. It's not possible. If you want to prevent crime, well, maybe you should try banning criminals. Okay? Maybe ban criminals. Maybe ban crime. Banning guns. You fucking dumbasses. But anyway, this isn't about crime. I know it isn't. So, and I do know as well, it's obvious with most law enforcement, I guess the training you go through, they just pound it into the law enforcement employees to be terrified of a gun. Oh my God, there's a gun on the truck! And they lose their shit. A lot of them do, right? I've seen it. I guess that's obviously, they train to help preserve their lives, but still, it's a little over the top, man. A little over the top. Anyway, I know that's not why they're going after the guns, but I would like to hear directly from law enforcement officer your version of what the frick's going on. What's going on? I can assure you, as you probably know, people aren't going to give those guns up. Nuh-uh. It's not this latest wave of suppression they're throwing down. People aren't going to give those guns up. It's not going to happen. But anyway, please fill us in. Give me your version of what's up, so we can understand, and then we can possibly counterattack this problem ourselves, and coming with from the right direction, with the right knowledge and the right motives, and know where to stick it to them to prevent it and keep our whatever freedoms we have left safe, right? But we need help, and we need help with the remedies now. Like I said earlier, the crimes, the lies, they're getting pointed out all day, every day by numerous sources non-stop, but nobody's pointing out the remedy. Okay? We need remedies now. We need to solve all this shit now. It's the pointing it all out. It's been done. It's been done. I'm over it. I can't even listen to it anymore. I know they're doing this. I know they've done that. I know they lied about this. I know they stole that. I know they've done this. Remedy now. It's remedy time. It's time to fix it. Okay? It's time to fix this shit, and we need to hear from our law enforcement officers on this one issue on what is really going on, what's motivating them, and then we will know how to counterattack and prevent it. There you go. feet to the left, I'm gonna die.